The original idea for setting up SciDev came about in the late 1990s when the internet arrived, and we suddenly realized that all the barriers that had existed before to getting scientific information out to developing countries in a timely fashion had virtually disappeared overnight. There were no printing, publication, distribution costs involved, anything like that. Information could be distributed internationally almost instantaneously, and that was a tremendous barrier removed, and that's really why we did it.
SciDev use a particular model of development, so we're building on a huge information base at this point, but that base has been formed through using freelancers from across the world that are brought in by our regional coordinators, who then write local information, local science for us. And in doing that, once an article is accepted, that person who's written, or that freelancer who's written the article, then goes through a mentoring process to get an article up to an international authoritative standard, which is a learning process. So essentially, although the website acts as a hub, it also acts as a hub for developing and mentoring science journalists throughout the world.
Our main communication strategy is really built around the website. The website is the core of what we do, and it's the main channel through which we communicate information about science for development. There are obviously many different components on the website. We do this in different ways. We have our news content, we have our features, we have opinions. We publish practical guides which are providing guidance to people on communication skills. We provide access to the website through various routes. First of all, we have email alerts that tell people what's been added to the website. We then have news feeds that deliver the content of the website onto other places on the web. We have RSS feeds by which people can keep in touch with what is on the website. And most recently, we've been moving into social media, particularly obviously Twitter and Facebook. In our coverage, we've always been very careful not to cover science or to write about science in isolation, but to show how it is embedded in a whole set of social processes, and in particular how it contributes towards the process of technological innovation.
At the moment, we are writing a lot about the consequences of natural disasters, be they tsunamis, earthquakes, or more slow onset disasters like famines. We're interested in what science is being done to try and anticipate these disasters so that people can intervene and reduce the devastating consequences. We're interested in the technologies that can track them and the innovations that can help people to intervene effectively, like mobile phone technologies and crowdsourcing. Another major force that's leading to a lot of the stories that we cover is the lack of food. And since the major food crisis of a few years ago, lots of money is going into agricultural research, and not just pure research, but all the complexities of how you get that research out into people's mouths, and there's many stages before you can achieve that. And so that's yielding a lot of both research to report on and policy to report on, and arguments about what are the best approaches, most notably arguments about genetically modified crops and what role they have to play, if at all.
We also actively encourage comments on everything we publish, and we've had some fairly lively debates recently with people who may disagree or agree with the types of articles that we publish.
We at SciDevNet do a lot of work on looking at user needs, so we're a very user-led service, so we do a lot of customer surveys, asking people what they think of our service, what we can improve with our service. And so, you know, a number of things sort of have come up over the years, and so, for instance, we respond to sort of languages, so we have Spanish, Chinese, English and French language platforms, and so we can target quite a large part of the world with those 4 languages. and we're always looking to improve upon that. So in the next few years we're looking at having Arabic as well, so we can sort of integrate more into the Islamic world, given that we already provide Islamic analysis. Also we're looking at new technologies so that people can gain more news in a form that's most appropriate to them. So, for instance, mobile phone technology, where 6 out of 10 people in the world have mobile phone technology. You know, we should be looking at, you know, how we can shrink our information down so that even on lower tech phones that have internet access, how they can look at our information.
Success is obviously a very difficult thing to assess. It's not as if we're trying to cure a disease or reduce the Earth's climate by a certain amount. What we essentially do is to ask people first of all what they consider our successes to be, whether they consider that we are doing a good job, and then to identify particular areas, particular issues on which we have had an impact and in which we can say we've contributed to not necessarily the solving of a problem, but to the general level of debate around a particular issue. In terms of visitors' numbers to the website, I think we've been doing remarkably well. We currently have more than 55,000 registered users. Those are people who receive regular mailings from us about what the website contains. We have more than 1.6 million people who visit the website every year. We're really trying to influence a whole range of people. Our primary target, I think, are those that we call policy stakeholders. That means those who are involved in one way or another in the policy making process. They may be those who are actually taking policies, for example, government decision makers or those in parliaments, or they may be those trying to influence policies like NGOs or outside consultants. So there's a whole range of people there. But we also want to contact either directly or indirectly the ordinary person, the person in the street, because their support for these types of decisions is obviously very critically important, and they will only support these decisions if they have some understanding of the positive role that science can play in development. I think our biggest achievement over the past 10 years is to build up a sense that science journalism is important in the developing world, and it provides an important source of support for those who are trying to get science into development policy. I think quite a lot has changed over the last 10 years. I think one of the most obvious aspects of this is that there's much greater interest in science in policy making circles than when we started 10 years ago. And I like to feel that we have contributed quite substantially to that change in attitude by providing information to people about the role that science can play. If you're trying to influence people through communication, I think it's important to keep your messages quite brief, to keep them focused, to make sure the language in which they are written is a language that is accessible to the policymaker, and also to make sure that people can find what they want when they want it. There's no point in giving them a report which is just really nothing to do with what is on the political agenda at the moment. So we try to keep our material brief, we try to keep it concise, we certainly try to keep it authoritative. People must be able to trust what we publish on the website, and we also try to ensure that we keep it timely, that it refers directly to the issues that are on the policy agenda at any one time.